Well, it's kind of an interesting story. I had no intent going into the fire service. I was actually scheduled to join the military. I wanted to fly helicopters. And I grew up in the area here in the Central Valley, outside of Visalia, in a really small community, ag predominantly. Growing up, I worked in the fields. I'm one generation away from that lifelong working in the fields as a field worker. And during the summer months, I would pick tomatoes, pick grapes, work in the fields to earn money if I wanted, the extra nice school clothes and whatnot. One summer I decided I did not want to work in a packing house again. And there was a newspaper advertisement for one of the local fire stations in my town that I grew up in, needing help. And I showed up to the fire station and I talked to the on-duty captain, and he gave me an application. I filled it out. He told me, hey, come back in a couple of days. I'll let you know what happens with this. And so when I showed up, he actually called me at my house and he said, come on down, your application was accepted. And I showed up, he hands me a helmet, gloves, a coat, and turnout boots. And I had a puzzled look on my face, and he said, well, you applied to be a volunteer firefighter. I said, no, I thought I'd be washing the engines or sweeping up around the place. I said, I know nothing about the fire service, thanks, but no thanks. And he basically said, hey, do me a favor. I kind of had to pull some strings because we were short-staffed. It'd be fine if you decide not to continue on with this, but hang on to the equipment, come to one of our meetings, and that way I can tell my battalion chief, hey, he tried it out, it didn't work. So about a month went by, I went to one training session / meeting, still had no intent on pursuing the fire service. Lo and behold, at the local high school that I went to, one of the janitors had a full-blown heart attack. And it happened to be right after school, I happened to be there. The engine showed up, and the captain on duty that day recognized me as being a brand new guy on the volunteer roster and told me to grab some equipment, grab some gear. We went to the location where the janitor was, who was down, pulseless, non-breathing. Staff was performing CPR. At the time, I didn't even have a CPR certificate, but I seen it on TV and started chest compressions. That janitor walked out of the hospital a month later. And it was at that point in time where I realized what I wanted to do. So I spent a couple of years as a volunteer with Cutler Rossi Fire Station, which was Tulare County Fire Department. From then, when I graduated high school, I ended up picking up a job with Tulare County Ranger Unit with, back in the day, CDF, which is CAL FIRE now. Was fortunate enough to do that, and I was going to be a CDFer for life. I really enjoyed it. But the following year, applications were being taken with City of Visalia Fire Department. And that was in 1989 when I got picked up full-time with the city. So I've been with the city for 33 years now. I've been a captain for about 26 years at that time. So it's been kind of one of those stories where, yeah, my dad wasn't a firefighter, my uncle wasn't a firefighter, and really didn't know anything about the fire service, but once I got in, I understood what it meant to be a firefighter, especially in an area where you have predominantly volunteer groups or combination departments. The city of Visalia being the largest within this area between Fresno and Bakersfield. We're the largest municipality. So that 33 years with the city has really grown me as an individual, not just in my career, not just in my leadership skills as a fire captain this entire time and an acting battalion chief, but it really impresses upon me the needs of the community and the departments that are here in the Central Valley.
So you and I both share, a lot of similarities in our backgrounds, and both started off in high school. We were both young, and both started off as volunteer firefighters for counties that actually had the oversight of CAL FIRE. So it's kind of interesting that we share that. So the fact that you started off as a volunteer and then you transitioned into a career department. Why don't you tell us, though, the importance of making sure that we reach back to those volunteer fire companies across California that might not have, the equipment, the training, the oversight, and how we at CSFA can make sure that we address that?
Sure. Well, predominantly here in the Central Valley, you're going to find a lot of departments that are either at least combination. There are few departments that are strictly volunteer-based. Farmersville Fire Department's a good example, which is just a few miles from Visalia. Their only paid position is a chief. Everybody else is strictly volunteer. But I think over the years, a lot of the dependency on strictly the volunteer concept has kind of evolved into combination at the very least, which is a good sign. That means that jurisdictions, municipalities, counties, districts, they're seeing the importance of making sure we have good fire protection. So they're investing in some of that. But it doesn't take away from the fact that when you talk about Tulare County, Kings County, and Fresno County areas, 3 large counties in the center of California, there's a lot of volunteer groups or maybe paid call firefighter groups where they're not fully staffed, fully funded. You still got people that are giving their time and themselves to protect their own communities. I hold volunteers very near and dear to my heart. Paid call firefighters, that's how I started. And you're not getting paid a bunch of money. You're getting paid just to put gas in your car. And today, that's not even paying for the gas in your car. So I think to have organizations, trade organizations such as CSFA, to recognize that and try to bring a component of training and education and some resources to those different organizations and agencies up and down the state, it needs to be done. Because if those agencies don't have that support from the outside as well as internally, the community suffers, without a doubt. And then you look at the safety component of the firefighters that are on the job, whether they're paid, combination, or volunteer, or PCF, there is a safety component there. If you don't have the equipment that runs right and works right, if you don't have the staff that's fully trained to be able to take care of each other on the fire ground, you're really doing a disservice to your community and the jurisdictions that you're protecting. I am Captain Ray Ramirez, and I am the California Fire Service.